a woman was orange juice and she was sitting up in a tree. She said, you know, when I was a little girl, they used to call me a tomboy. Now, let's take that same commercial, this was 20 years ago, and someone like me saying, you know, when I was a little boy, I was a sissy. You can't say that. That's derogatory. And man, it's just so ingrained in us that we had to put on a fake show. I mean, yeah, we couldn't be who we are. And it was scary. We had to act straight.
I would concur, I mean, certainly. And again, this is not a phenomenon just linked to the Catholic Church. It's also in the Protestant Church as well. So I think it is cultural. It is about a culture of being male and having to do it. I think you mentioned that, you know, what is it that meant for you? What's your little secret? But I think we all talked about just being true to who you are. You know, for me, what meant for me is being Christ-like, being Christian, meant being true to who you are. When my mom would ask me, well, how do you know you're gay? And I said, you've always taught me to be true to myself. And part of being Christian, and you've always said that there'll be times where it's not going to be popular to be true for who you're going to be. You're going to have to be true. That's part of being a Christian. It's not easy. It's not easy. You know, it's easy to go with the flow, and a lot of us do. For various reasons in our life, it's so much easier, but at the same time, it is so much harder. But I think being Christian, and being a priest, or being a minister, I think God calls us to be true to ourselves. Because when we're true to ourselves, I think, and certainly for me, you know, I've impacted so many lives I didn't know about.
It's much easier to be out as well.
Right.
I mean, you and I both ran for public office.
Right, exactly.
Our sexual orientation,
Right, the deal. Right.
yeah, not a deal.
Right.
That could not have happened 20 years
No.
ago. No way.
I mentioned Father Mike Hill, who gave a very powerful homily at that very critical time. And then he indicated after the thing was no longer in the Tribune and national papers, it was off a little bit. And it was the Franciscan priests of the Sacred Heart Province who were the first local priests to preside at Mass. And there was several years later, Mike Hill was a recipient of the Mickey Award, co-recipient with Mike Savage. And Mike went to his provincial and said, you know, I'm going to be given this award, and there's usually some publicity about that. And he just wanted the provincial to know. And the provincial said, if you are being honored by dignity, the whole province is being honored. And as some of us know, one of our own, Frank Folino, went into the Franciscans and is now a Franciscan priest.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time of Frank's solemn profession, there was a social gathering after the Mass with the perpetual vow. And I went up to the provincial, because at that time I was the board president and felt I should say something. And I said, I just want you to know how much we appreciate these Franciscans. And he said, I want you to know it's not just a matter of personal interest on the part of these priests. It's a commitment of our province.
Our panelists so far have been helping us as repositories of our history in some ways, telling their stories, telling their experiences. But our last question to them has to do with the future, has to do with the future of dignity, but also I think the future of the church in general. How do they see the church in 10 years or in 20 years? And who do they see being part of that church? And how do they see that church acting in the world and engaging with the world? And I don't think we need to limit ourselves simply to the GLBTQ community. We can say, what is this church, this new and emerging church? Right now, I think we're in a period where there's an official church out there that I think all of us have run into, has run into us, or sometimes run over us and dragged us along behind, using imagery, buses and things. And I think that sometimes makes, at least it makes me despair about the future. It makes me think of, the future's kind of bleak, or there isn't a future. But I think there are better parts of me that say, oh, wait a minute, no, there is a future, and there is a future for a better church, and there is a God who is there to make sure that there is salvation and redemption and all these other sorts of things that maybe we're struggling to experience right now in the official church. So one of our last questions, or our last question that we posed to our panelists that they were able to prepare ahead of time, is this question about the future. How do they envision the future and Dignity's place in that future? And it's kind of free for all. I think once again I'm going to line us out because we gave our panelists a chance to prepare. So I thought, well, maybe this one we'll line them up again. Let them do it in order.
Well, I have to despair only because Vatican II said we are the church. If I thought that Rome is the church, I would feel a little desperate about the future. Because I do feel that as an institution will have to crumble. I just don't think we can go on like this. I think there will be more pain, frankly. But a pain you have to take heart about, because what will be falling away from the Catholic Church is the stuff that doesn't matter. It's that power. It's the power, it's the judgment, it's the lack of humanity that will fall away, I think. And what will be here is people who are Christians, who believe that Christian is about being inclusive, about looking at yourself and weeding out and not judging how others are. I think we're capable of that. I think we've begun that process. I think we live in that process as true Christians. So I don't despair. I know it'll look really different. I don't know where all those paintings will be. But I guess it probably won't be in my lifetime, But I believe that it just has to be. We just have to be the Christianity of old. Not what we have evolved into.
I like to make a distinction between, because one of the questions that was Roman Catholic identity. I truly think Roman Catholic identity is different from Roman Catholic Church. And that's what I agree with, as Lois was talking about. And what I really value, and I think I see it, hopefully in Dignity and in Women's Food, that is the Roman Catholic values of liturgy, social justice, inclusivity, primacy of conscience, those are the core values, and that's why I'm proud to say I'm Roman Catholic. I'm not proud of all that Roman Catholic Church does, it does some good things, but I'm proud of that, and I see that for now, we maybe need to be some of these smaller communities that are thorns in the side of them until they get it right. And why is not my message, it's Christ's message, but I think it has been the Roman Catholic message. And that's why I never ever, say, why should I just leave it? No, they're not going to kick me out, and because it's not something to be kicked out of. I don't want to be in what they're in, some of them, And so for me, I have a lot of positive things. I think that the wonderful thing about Dignity is, and other groups, I think Women's Ordination Conference and Corpus and other lay groups call to action is they feel the message and not the rules. And they feel the message and live the message and witness it and welcome people into it. And so I think that is where the future of the church is. And I kind of giggle when I think about what Pope Benedict saying. One thing he said for sure, the church may be leaner, but it's going to be meaner. Because, because he said, I don't care, you can all leave and we'll just sit there and veil the convictions. But so I have a positive feeling. I think I was lucky to have both religious life experience, which was good for me, and then coming into dignity. But I really think, and I just will not, and I think that's the Roman Catholic identity, and not the Roman Catholic Church.
I could start with the 1980s when I first connected with Dignity. At that was a time where I think certainly many members of Dignity and many Catholics still kind of had a sense of the promise of the Second Vatican Council. And I know at one point, I think it was around 1990, there was a survey that indicated 20% of Dignity members were either former seminarians or former religious. And many other people had gone to Catholic colleges and they had learned theology. So looking ahead, I think one challenge for Dignity in the years to come is whether the leaders that will be coming will have the same kind of, what some people would call thick Catholicism that the early leaders of Dignity had. I think that's one question. And in terms of demographics, there are a certain number of people who are in so-called Pope John Paul parishes with not the same sense of Vatican II. And some of these people are lesbian and gay. Is Dignity going to be able to dialogue with people who have not had that kind of 20, 30-year catechesis, if you will, that some of us have had? And then finally, Catholicism in the United States is going to be increasingly kind of ethnic in terms of people who have grown up in immigrant communities, whether Polish, Vietnamese, Spanish. So again, is Dignity going to be able to speak to people who have that experience of Catholicism?
Kind of building on something Sister Lois said, growth can be very, very painful. Staying with the status quo and being comfortable in what you're doing, that's being static. I believe that Dignity and the larger church has to be dynamic. Otherwise, it's going to die. And every year, as we go on, we look at new things and start doing those things and bring new people and thoughts and ideas into the organization. Yet these thoughts and moving on are grounded quite strongly in, I believe, the earliest of the church, where I believe it was much more inclusive early on. And as things became more organized, came under much more strict control of people. That's where the dynamics are lost. But as far, in the future, I think we're still going to grow. I think we're going to end up with people from multiple backgrounds joining us and truly become more of the LGBT community that we say we are. By more people coming in, and we say, this is who we're for. I think we're going to be more of this just simply because we are growing, we are being dynamic, we are reaching out to other people, and there are people who sit in pews in churches all over the area